Ukraine HIT, an oil terminal in Russia's Krasnodar region, in an overnight attack. December 23, 2025. Subscribe to Defense Reports, your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. I'm Alex. Joining you with Area and the latest deep dive by Defense Report for a sharp, no-nonsense breakdowns of the latest in global defense news, military technology, and strategic developments. And today we're going to cover, well, what happens when a conflict moves far beyond the front line and strikes at the financial heart of the war machine.
Exactly.
We're discussing a sustained campaign that has proven Russia's core infrastructure is deeply, fundamentally vulnerable.
That's really the mission for us today. This deep dive goes far beyond a single headline. We are analyzing a major strategic pivot, Ukraine's systematic multi-theater campaign to dismantle what their own general staff calls Russia's core economic energy rear.
The energy rear, I like that term.
It's a perfect description. We'll look specifically at the December 22nd strike in Krasnodar Krai, detail the damage, and then connect it to a whole series of stunning long-range strikes that really fundamentally shift the entire geography of this conflict.
Okay, let's start at the epicenter then. The strike carried out by the Defense Intelligence of Ukraine, the DIU.
That's right.
On the Tamanneftegaz marine oil terminal. This happened on the night of December 21st to 22nd, right near the village of Volna in Krasnodar Krai. The tactical reports coming out suggest this was less about a psychological win and more about, well, immediate operational paralysis.
It was a very surgical operation. It targeted what you could call high-energy nodes. The specifics we have confirm a high-precision strike that just crippled core operational assets.
And what are we talking about specifically?
Well, the attack damaged the oil terminal equipment, the liquefied petroleum gas, or LPG, pier, and other associated port infrastructure. All the things you need for transshipment.
And the Ukrainian General Staff was very specific about the successful hits. What were the high-value targets they confirmed were hit or even destroyed?
They confirmed strikes on a vital pipeline, 2 separate piers or berths, and this is critical, 2 large vessels, tankers, that were actually docked and being serviced or loaded at the time.
Wow. So not just the infrastructure, but the assets using it.
Exactly. The immediate result was a total operational shutdown, which was confirmed by just the sheer scale of the fire that resulted.
Scale is definitely the key word here. Russian authorities, I think it was the Krasnodar Krai emergency headquarters, they cited the fire covering up to 1,500 square meters.
A huge area.
But wait, they also claimed they intercepted 3 drones. So isn't that a sign their air defenses are working, or is that just the standard wartime spin?
That's the disconnect you always see, isn't it? They claimed, falling drone debris caused the fire and that 3 drones were intercepted.
3.
But a fire covering 1,500 square meters, affecting a tank farm, one of the vessels, and shutting down 2 piers, that suggests the drones that weren't intercepted delivered a devastating payload.
It doesn't really add up otherwise.
It doesn't. When a facility this massive, it has a storage capacity of over 1 million cubic meters, takes a hit that halts its primary function, the interception claims sort of become secondary. They didn't hit the parking lot, they hit the loading ramp.
That distinction is crucial. It wasn't a surface scratch. So, why Tamanneftegaz? If Ukraine is using these limited, expensive, long-range assets, they need maximum strategic bang for their buck. What makes this specific complex so irreplaceable?
Tamman holds immense multi-layered strategic importance. First, it's one of the largest transshipment hubs in the entire Black Sea region. It handles massive volumes of crude oil, petroleum products, and those liquefied hydrocarbon gases.
So it's a major moneymaker.
The major moneymaker. This facility directly supports the revenue stream funding the Russian military campaign.
You use that term again, the energy rear. When we say that, are we talking more about the logistics, getting diesel to tanks, or is it the bigger picture, the revenue funding the whole military budget?
It's primarily the revenue mechanism. The products moving through Tamman translate directly into hundreds of millions of euros that sustain the invasion. It's the financial infrastructure that underpins the military. It's the lifeblood, not just a logistical vein.
Okay, the economic pillar is clear. What about the military logistics angle? Because that location in Krasnodar Krai seems, well, particularly sensitive.
Geography is everything here. The terminal sits just 6 kilometers from the illegally built Kerch Strait Bridge.
6 kilometers is right on its doorstep.
It's a foundational support structure for all military operations in Crimea and southern Ukraine. The Kerch Bridge is the main military supply line, and the Tamman terminal is its economic and logistical shadow.
You can't have one without the other.
You really can't. You can't operate the bridge and the naval support you need without nearby energy assets like Taman being fully functional. So hitting the terminal immediately adds operational friction and risk to the bridge itself.
And we noted the operators. Tamanneftegaz, part of the Oteko Group. This isn't a state-owned enterprise, is it?
Correct. And that's a calculated move. Targeting a key private infrastructure asset like this, which is a huge source of revenue for the Russian economy and its elites, it's an economic pressure point.
It links their personal wealth directly to the war.
It hits the political economic establishment right where they live.
And this is where it gets really interesting for me. Our sources highlight that the Taman strike wasn't just a one-off. It's the climax of a massive, systematic campaign that took place all through December 2025.
A whole campaign.
Aimed at the wholesale degradation of this energy rear. We have to look back just a few weeks to the Temryuk strike.
The Temryuk precedent really set the stage. Earlier in December, around the 5th, the SBU's Alpha unit hit the Maktrin Nafta LNG terminal, also in Krasnodar Krai at Temryuk Seaport. That was the opening salvo of this winter campaign.
And the detail that stands out from the sources on that strike, the operational disruption was just staggering.
It was. The resulting blaze burned for 3 days.
3 days.
Can you imagine the amount of infrastructure and product lost over 72 hours? The attack reportedly destroyed about 70% of the facility's total fuel tanks. We're talking over 20 out of 30 storage tanks, plus the railway tankers.
So the message is clear.
The cumulative message from hitting Temryuk and then Taman is that Russia's capacity to export through the Sea of Azov region is now highly, highly vulnerable.
But the truly staggering part of this campaign isn't just the success within the Black Sea. It's the radical expansion of Ukraine's operational reach. We are talking about strikes far, far outside what was previously considered possible.
This is where the strategic map changes completely. Suddenly, the deep rear isn't so deep anymore. I mean, look at the Caspian Sea on December 20th.
The Caspian.
Strikes hit a Lukoil drilling platform at the Filanovsky field. This forces Russia to divert already strained naval and air defense assets personnel, radar systems, hundreds of kilometers east. They're now defending oil fields, not just the front line.
And then there's the Mediterranean strike. I had to double-check this one. 2,000 kilometers. That's roughly the distance from Paris to Istanbul. This changes the entire definition of rear area for Russia's global operations.
That analogy perfectly captures the scale. On December 19th, a strike hit the Russian Shadow Fleet tanker Kvendel, about 2,000 kilometers from Ukraine. This is a clear, unambiguous signal.
What's the signal?
That the entire global network of sanctions-evading ships used by Russia is now considered a legitimate military target.
So what's the strategic point of hitting a lone tanker in the Med versus hitting infrastructure like at Taman?
It's psychological and financial pressure, but applied globally. They are proving there is no safe harbor for the 1,400-vessel Shadow Fleet Russia relies on to bypass sanctions.
That has to put immense pressure on insurers, shipping companies.
Everyone, all the third parties who assist the oil trade. The risk calculation for every single one of those vessels, even operating far from the Black Sea, has changed instantly.
Which brings us to the core strategy here. Integrated military and economic attrition. These energy strikes aren't happening in a vacuum. They're synchronized with traditional military targeting to maximize the shock.
The coordination is flawless. On the same night the Taman terminal was on fire, Ukrainian forces hit military-specific assets. For example, in occupied Crimea, a Ukrainian-made missile struck a temporary basing site for vessels of Russia's 92nd Riverboat Brigade in Olenivka.
A riverboat brigade. That sounds specialized. Why target them?
Because they're used for security, small-scale logistics, and patrolling shallow coastal areas, especially around the lagoons and estuaries in Crimea and southern Ukraine.
So taking them out creates a headache.
It forces Russia to dedicate naval resources to self-defense rather than logistical support, creating a ripple effect of resource denial.
So you have disruption at the strategic rear, pressure on the immediate military rear. But how quickly does a hit like Taman translate into less pressure on, say, the Pokrovsk front line? Is that a lag of days or weeks?
That's the critical question. The impact isn't instantaneous for the fighting units on the line, but if they destroyed an ammo depot of a Russian motorized rifle regiment in Ukrainsk and hit Shahed drone sites near Donetsk like they did that same night, that provides immediate tactical relief.
I see.
The energy strikes, though, they inflict sustained systemic pain. They reduce the pool of funds that buys the shells and drones in the first place. That creates a fiscal lag that hits weeks or months down the line.
That focus on the financial foundation brings us back to this idea of kinetic sanctioning. It's a campaign targeting the whole financial ecosystem built around the shadow fleet.
This is exactly what kinetic sanctioning looks like, and we're seeing massive immediate economic fallout. Maritime security reports show that after this campaign, insurance costs for tankers in Black Sea ports have skyrocketed by 250%.
250%. That increase in operational overhead has to be astronomical.
It is. That's not just raising the price of a tank of gas. It's like putting a massive, unexpected lien on Russia's global credit card. That higher operating cost severely erodes their export profitability.
Especially when they're already selling at a discount.
Exactly, when you factor in the existing Urals discount. When insurance costs jump that high, the profit margin just shrinks to almost nothing.
So physical destruction, like the piers at Taman, combines with economic fear, the insurance rates, to make exporting prohibitively costly and risky. You can register a tanker under a different flag, but you can't bypass a destroyed loading pier.
That's the point. The ability to load or unload is eliminated, regardless of who owns the vessel. This campaign directly attacks the foundation of the invasion, a foundation that, even in late 2025, was bringing in hundreds of millions of euros every single day. This is the financial battlefront, and right now, it's the most dynamic theater of the war.
Let's talk about the technology that's enabling this massive expansion of range and precision, hitting platforms in the Caspian, a tanker 2,000 kilometers away. It suggests a significant leap in the weapon systems they're using.
It absolutely does. This campaign points toward the full deployment of advanced heavy drone systems. Our sources reference the likely use of things like the FP2 heavy kamikaze drone.
And this isn't a small surveillance drone we're talking about.
Not at all. It carries a massive warhead, often over 100 kilograms. That means it behaves far more like a cruise missile than a conventional UAV.
A 100-kilogram warhead designed for high-precision strikes on hardened infrastructure. That requires some serious guidance technology to get past air defenses.
Precision at range is the hallmark. The accuracy needed to hit specific berth and pipelines confirms the use of advanced terminal guidance, probably integrating systems like machine vision or sophisticated navigation that's independent of satellite signals.
So it's designed specifically to get around Russia's air defenses.
To overwhelm or circumvent them, exactly.
If we connect all these dots, the tactical, the technological, it seems these strikes serve a profound geopolitical function, a form of cognitive warfare.
That's a great way to put it. What's fascinating here is the utility against the political narrative. While President Putin projects this image of military stability, of negotiating from strength,
Kyiv is proving the opposite.
Kyiv is using these systematic energy strikes to prove, loudly and clearly, that its offensive capability can reach deep inside Russia's financial sanctuary. They are showing that Russia's core economic assets are fundamentally insecure.
And that undermines the whole Kremlin narrative.
Precisely. It forces them to acknowledge the energy rear is vulnerable. It introduces domestic instability and, crucially, it forces the Russian military to divert massive resources, their best air defenses, to protect oil platforms hundreds of kilometers away from the soldiers who desperately need that cover on the front line.
It's forcing a costly reallocation of already strained resources.
Yes. This shift fundamentally alters the strategic calculus. The war is no longer confined to the trenches. It's being fought in the global oil markets and in the balance sheets of Russia's largest corporations.
Which raises an important question, something for you, the listener, to really mull over.
The systematic attacks on these energy targets, coupled with the rising risk to the shadow fleet, fundamentally challenge the Russian calculus. If Russia can no longer guarantee the safety of its primary war funding mechanism, how long can economic endurance, not just military manpower, sustain the invasion?
That attrition is now being measured in insurance premiums and burned storage tanks, a profound challenge to their notion of economic stability. The speed and scope of these operations in December 2025 confirm that the energy war is now the most dynamic and consequential front. You've been listening to Defense Report by Alex and Aria, where we analyze the latest in military strategy, global defense, and advanced weaponry.
Subscribe to Defense Reports, your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. We'll catch you next time.